Oh gosh. Let me fix my camera. Oh, I didn't test anything before getting on. Failure. And it seems like things are tilted. I mean, I'm tilted. I am a tilted person. But good morning, everyone. Well, at least if you're in the same continent as me. And let me fix my camera too, because someday, when I'm a super famous streamer, which is going to be never, I'm gonna upgrade my camera. But I'm probably gonna do that before that happens, because for some reason, streaming on Linux, there's always some sort of video problem. So I have to go into OBS and I have to switch the video format, and then my latency goes away. For some reason, when I first started the stream, got tons of latency. But no, it's Boomer Tester here. Good to see you. Whatever time zone you're in, I hope you're all doing well. I'm really excited to do today's topic because I am very much a skeptic of BDD, which is behavior-driven development. Only because every place I've worked at that's tried to implement BDD, the BDD has failed and deprecated, and I have a couple of issues with the BDD testing frameworks and tools, mostly because of what will often happen when someone is trying to sell those tools out or promote them. They will promote them in a way that makes it seem like, oh, this is no code. There's no code here. Look how easy this is. Everything's in plain English. When in the reality, someone still has to maintain the guts underneath. Someone still has to maintain the code that lies underneath those keywords or whatever the framework ends up calling your plain English. I think it's a neat idea. I actually like to write like Playwright or Cypress tests in like a BDD type format. I will say, I'll usually have like functional area or feature, and then I'll say should do these things. And I'll try to stay away from implementation details. So I think there are aspects that have come from BDD that are great. I really do. I think there are things that we've learned as like an industry, software testing and software development in general, that are really good. But I've never been in a place, maybe it's just chance, I've never been in a place where it's worked. And Dave Farley here has always tried to advocate, because I think it's worked really well for Dave and his teams, and the products he's worked on, the contracts he's probably worked on. And so I want to always hear the dissenting voice when I have disagreement with something, or I don't feel like something's ever worked for me. I always want to try to give it another chance. When it comes to like the paid, I have a similar problem with like the BDD like paid tools and infrastructure. I've generally seen that they don't scale. There's issues with it being proprietary, so you don't own anything. Once you stop paying in, I always lose my voice only when I stream. My voice is totally fine otherwise. But once you stop paying in, you lose access a lot of times to everything. You don't own it. With code-driven approaches, I've always seen the big advantage is you own it. It's yours. Oh, my son's knocking on my door for some reason. Hold on. I gotta deal with this. Okay, mischief managed. Children Children are great. I love my children. But yeah, today we've got a new fresh video from Dave Farley from Modern Software Engineering, and I'm really excited to watch it and see if Dave can convince me. I have not watched it yet, so I'm going in completely blind here. About 17 minutes. That means with a yapper like me, might take up the whole time if folks start to show up, and we can have a good discussion about this. I hope people show up that are proponents of BDD, and they can tell me, no, you're wrong, when I have any criticism here. I like ideas being challenged. I like my strongly held principles and ideas and opinions to be challenged, because I think it can strengthen them, or it can add a new facet to them. Someone, you know, has different experience than me and can teach me something that I don't know. Oh, delicious coffee. Delicious black coffee, like my soul. But yeah, let's get into this without further yapping. Let's see, what scene do I want to use? Do we want to use the default? We'll try. I have all these fancy scenes I've set up. This one's perfect. The browser view. Welcome to the browser view. Other interesting thing, side topic. These 9 o'clock streams have been a challenge. If you have young children, you'll understand. It's like they have a spider sense. The days that they would sleep in are not going to be the days you need to get up and like do something like this that's very time sensitive. So I did start late today because of that. Let's kill our tunes. As fun as it is to have tunes, it'll make it hard to hear Mr. Farley here. I want to hear him. And I want to say, I respect Dave Farley a lot. And we've had a little back and forth on social platforms, X in particular, where, you know, we haven't agreed, and he's given me some good responses to some criticism I had. And he's got, you know, he's going to have people that follow him that are going to go and defend him. And I respect that. It's not, you know, there's going to be people that really like and respect Dave. And I like and respect him too. I'm one of those people, if I don't agree with you, I'm not going, and even if I like you, if I don't agree with you, I'm going to tell you I don't agree with you. And I would hope the same for people with me, is tell me you don't agree. Because I agree with Dave on a lot of his testing stuff. And I've gotten pushback from people because I'm a proponent of what Dave has to say about testing. And so it all comes down to balance. It's kind of like when we have discussions about LLMs and AI on here. I like to hear both sides. I like to be challenged, and I'm fine if people don't agree with me. I'm definitely being won over by Jason Arbon. Like I think I'm going further and further to Jason's side of things. But if you are watching, you can't hear the video and I'm playing it, please let me know. It's been a while since I've watched a YouTube video on here. We've mostly been doing a lot of demoing and demonstrating of AI lately. I haven't been doing almost any. It's been a long time since we watched a video, actually, probably beginning of the channel. So the audio levels could be wrong. Please let me know if you can't hear Dave, because you'll definitely hear my yapping. But let's jump in. Said 17-minute video with my yapping. I might eat up the whole time. If not, there's always more fun things we can do or discuss, especially if folks show up and want to chat about BDD or AI and testing, or just testing principles in general. You want to talk about how to use AI to review your code or to be an AI code assistant, like having someone alongside you. We can talk about that. I have some resources available. I have a Git repository that I've put together. So just let me know. But let's jump in the video.
Driven development is one of those ideas that's become extremely popular, and it's extremely successful as a practice too. However, as a result of its popularity, as usual, it's also ended up being widely misunderstood. I think that BDD can be one of the most straightforwardly effective tools to effect change in our approach to software development. But so many teams miss out on these advantages because of these misunderstandings. So what are the common mistakes that people often make, and how do we get acceptance testing with BDD right?
That's the question, isn't it, Dave? I always love Dave. Dave has the habit of having really great shirts that I always end up looking up later, because that Bender shirt's pretty awesome. And I would say I am a fan or a proponent of acceptance testing, just not always within the framework of BDD. I think the idea of making sure that you have a formalized, trackable, even if it's formalized in the lightest sense. Because often when I'm brought into teams, you'd be surprised. There's no formalized like acceptance testing that's repeatable, auditable. It's a big problem because then it's sort of the Wild West. Like this person may accept the story differently than this person. But everyone's idea of acceptance can be different when you formalize it and put it in some sort of container of some kind with a basic formalized process. You don't realize how much it can change the way a team does development.
Hi, I'm Dave Farley. Welcome to the
Hi,
Modern
Dave.
Software Engineering channel. If you haven't been here before, please do hit subscribe. And if you enjoy the content here today, hit like as well.
Yeah, definitely. Go subscribe to Dave's channel. It is way far superior to the cringe content here. Dave has like a wealth of experts with him too, a nice group, including Trisha Gee, who's more the testing guru there. And I almost always agree with Trisha. Trisha has a really solid head on her shoulders in regards to software testing. So, but yeah, go. If you're not subscribed to Modern Software Engineering, you're a software engineer, a software tester, product owner, product manager. If you're in like software development in some way and you're not watching Dave's content, you're really missing out here. His channel did used to be called, I think it was called Continuous Delivery, and he changed it to Modern Software Engineering to kind of, I think, because they were covering more topics than just continuous delivery. And so as far as he had an announcement video about it, you can go watch it.
The most common mistake that I see in teams adopting BDD is that they tend to assume that it's all about the tools. The assumption seems to be that if you write your tests in Gherkin, then you're practicing BDD. That's completely wrong. You can write your tests in any language that you like, with any tools that you like, and doing a better job of BDD than many teams using dedicated BDD tools.
Yeah, so look at his example here. So they're testing implementation and not behavior. This is a problem that's easy to fall into. It can be difficult to write proper behavior driven tests. I mean, this is something that for about 2 years, my job was to go to companies and teach robot framework, and I thought I understood BDD then as well, at least from like the testing behavior, not implementation details. And we can do something in that, because I do think there's value in getting away from implementation details and focusing on user behavior and like personas, because that's ultimately what you want to really focus on most of the time. The functional stuff should really, as much as the functional parts of an application that are tested deeper in the stack, because generally too, this level is your typical UI, user interface, front end GUI level, right? Like you look at this, add two numbers. I've selected the calculator homepage. I've typed, so it's very much user. This is user interface, even though it's using implementation details instead of the behavior. Because I think that's what I'm likely going to get to, is that you want. You can use the tool, and it doesn't mean you're doing BDD right. So I will agree with that. But I will say I have witnessed teams do, seems like everything right, and it still just didn't work for various reasons, including the tooling.
BDD is very far from being a tool-centric approach. Much more important is what your tests are focused on testing. The tools don't really matter, and to be honest, I don't think that they help at all if you miss the much more important, more fundamentals of BDD. Over the years, I've come to believe that the most important idea of all, if we want to achieve successful software development, is to organize everything really as best as we can to keep our eye focused on the outcome that it is that we're trying to achieve, rather than the mechanism through which we are attempting to achieve it.
And that's something I push for, even if you're not doing BDD. When you're writing test cases, try to focus on the should and less on like the implementation details. And it can be hard, but it's a good thing to practice. And in fact, going back to our previous topics, you can use generative AI to help you. You can write a test that you feel like is solid and stays away from implementation details, and then drop it into ChatGPT, drop it into any of the generative AI chatbots like LLMs, and ask it if you are using too many implementation details, or ask it to say, review this test case, suggest changes based on BDD best practices for test case writing, and get some help. And then if it changes something, ask why. It could be a great opportunity to have a space alien that was trained on all the internet's data teach you about BDD. So technically an expert on BDD, help teach you and train you, and you can learn from the large language model about BDD and how to write better test cases. And maybe that's something we'll do today if we've got time. We'll try to write some good BDD test cases for maybe the Blaze demo site or something. All right, we'll look at Twitch. Twitch is always our target. So we'll look at Twitch. We'll try to write some BDD tests for Twitch, and maybe we'll have, if we've got time at the end. But let's focus on the video. Sorry, I'm digressing. I'm digressing us.
With hindsight, I think that we could think of a lot of the ideas in software development from that perspective. They were fundamentally about trying to find ways to keep developers and teams focused on outcomes rather than becoming overly focused on mechanisms. Yeah. Use cases, user stories, the executable specifications of BDD and acceptance testing, and even ideas like test-driven development, object orientation, and functional programming are really all fundamentally about allowing us to separate our thinking about what our system's meant to do from the detail of how we make it do those things. These two important aspects of software development, what and how, are both, of course, essential, but are represented by very different sets of activities. And software development works best when we separate them, but don't separate them too far. Ideally, we'd like to be able to focus all of our attention on defining the problem that we need to solve. And then, only once we have done that, focus all of our attention on how to solve it. Most teams confuse these two ideas, often by specifying software in terms of the solution rather than the need.
Yes, I agree with this, actually. Oh no, I'm agreeing with Dave. Well, I think maybe this is a problem, again, a problem you don't necessarily need BDD to solve. Like, you can solve this problem in your team. It's just really, it can be really challenging if everyone's used to used to the latter approach. So like, there's really good examples here. Like, make the UI look exactly, let's say, look exactly like TikTok would be, maybe not exactly that, but versus place and order. You're thinking about, behaviorally, you're thinking about outcomes rather than all the implementation details, or the how instead of the why. Add column to DB. Yeah. Like this. I'm sure some of you have seen stories like this in your Jira or version 1 or whatever. GitLab issues, GitHub issues, whatever. Add column to DB. Okay, but why are we doing it? Because the other thing is it's guidance for acceptance. Like, how do we know, like, why are we doing this? And then how do we know we did it well? When I define my preference, it's the default until I change it, right? Because like, you're changing that, you may be adding that column to the DB so that when you define your preference, it's the default until you change it. And when the testing focuses on the implementation details, the testing is brittle. It's really brittle. And it could be brittle from the sense of especially written specification type testing. And that's why, again, with BDD, if you don't understand it and you are writing tests with implementation details, those keywords are very brittle now. So you're going to be changing your keywords, and you're going to be changing the guts and the code that run that fire. Because those that don't know, in BDD, those keywords, like it's human readable language, which Dave showed a second ago, underneath that layer, it's basically a function that's calling real code. So it might be Python, like in the case of Robot Framework with Gherkin. Pick your poison, I believe. There's tons of implementations, or any other. And I believe Cypress has a BDD. There's like an add-on that you can do that I've used before. It's actually kind of the ideal version of BDD type tools if you are. I know we're getting into tooling, but I'm a test automation engineer estet, so my brain. But just thinking about from the tools aspect of this, not just the sort of process aspect within a development team. If you use implementation details, you will end up having to change the keywords and change the code and the guts of those keywords. Where if you do it properly, as hard as it is, and you focus on behavior, your behavior may stay the same. And if the implementation details change, that's in your code. So this is where your behavior is in the keywords. Those should not have implementation details. Your implementation details are in your code, in your guts that run those keywords. That's real the correct or most efficient way or proper way to use BDD like frameworks, or to just use frameworks that in a BDD way. Like again, going back to the example of say like Cypress or Playwright, if you say, the administrative user should be able to remove non-admin users from the system. That doesn't tell you anything about how, but it does tell you definitely about the outcome. And it tells you about the role and the persona. This persona should be able to do this thing. If they can't, if I see an assertion failure, I know that role, for some reason, whether it's the test was written, now the guts or the implementation details are wrong, or now the system has regressed in some way and that known functionality has been broken for some reason, or its environment and the admin users that we pull from our admin user pool, which we can do some. I really feel like there's an opportunity to show people how to do their test data differently, because this is another really sticking point, but I don't want to digress us too much. But again, it tells you that your behavior or your outcome is the same, your persona is the same, but something now in your implementation details or the system itself has failed. Where if you put when an admin, admin remove user. I know there's a way to badly write this test, but essentially, if you put too many implementation details in that test, it becomes very, especially again written level, it tends to be worse, and in the case of BDD, it becomes worse in your keywords. So it's this idea again: keep your behavior in your keywords, keep your implementation details in your code and your guts of your framework.
This can get so bad that the developers working on the system don't even understand or know what the system is for. There's no way for developers to build great software without understanding the problem that they're working on.
Or for testers to test it. If we don't understand why this functionality is created, who's it for? What are we trying to accomplish with it? Like, why are we doing this? It can seem really arbitrary. It can become really difficult to validate what the intentions of this new feature and functionality within the system is really supposed to accomplish. It doesn't allow testers to be the advocate for the user anymore, because we don't understand. And also we can't push back and say the user doesn't use the system this way or wouldn't, because we want to become that user advocate, but it doesn't, if we don't understand, if it's just like, oh, there's a new column in the DB, so run the SQL select query and you'll see it now. You'll be able to query on that column. Like, that doesn't tell us anything. Like, well, this column now represents something, that helps the user accomplish something within the system. It's going to help us a lot more. Like, oh, okay, now we understand. Yo, what's up, Onion? We're Dave Farley from Modern Software Engineering. I'm hoping is going to win me over on BDD, because I've been that's behavioral driven development. That's what we're working on. We're working on now. But how are you doing today? It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I've been a big was it the opposite of a proponent of BDD, because I just haven't seen it work. But I'm hoping Dave here kind of wins me over.
So this is a pretty sure route towards failure. BDD is, in my view, the most powerful tool to help us to maintain this separation sensibly, but only if we see it and use it for what it really is. That is, it's all about specification rather than being about testing. Most developers and
yes, but when your focus is testing, you have to you have to come at it from that angle. We have to remember, client doesn't always know what's best. Yeah, well, they may not always know exactly what they want is one of the challenges too. Like, I think I think the reason that AI is really not going to take our jobs is because so many of us have been in those meetings where like a client stakeholder, a PO, a PM, tries to describe what the user base wants from something and really is really struggling to translate it to a group of brilliant people, right? And I'm not saying they're not brilliant. This idea, like, you generally have like all these brilliant developers, you've got testers, and they're having a hard time like really describing what they want, and then you make what you think that is, and you still iterate on that, right? So the idea that that person's now just gonna be like, well, I don't need all these people. I'm going to have a chatbot and generative AI, and that I'm going to describe, like, the idea that they could properly describe what they want to an LLM and then get the output they want. It's just it's it's fantasy, right? Like the customer describing what they want properly in a way that the LLM's going to interpret it correctly. With the current models, it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. Yeah, right. But there's a lot of people tell me I'm going to be wrong, and I still think you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who knows how to leverage AI. Clients even order stuff they assume is needed, right? Exactly, Onion, right? Like, and if customers didn't exist, we wouldn't have jobs, right? Like, people need to use software. It's not like we hate customers. It's just most people don't fully understand what they want. People are fickle. We've got the lizard and monkey parts of our brains. It'd be so much easier with our clients. We could just create software in a vacuum and products in a vacuum. But yeah, it's this idea that getting to the truth of things, and what's really interesting too, if you watch, there's tons of studies on this thing that they brought it up in the Automation Guild, like how users actually use an app. You will watch how they use an app, and then you watch what the product owner, or you look at specifications, what the product owner or PMs think that the customer wants, and they're greatly diverged. It's like this idea that we don't always fully understand even how people will use it. Like, that person may have said, I want this feature, and then they'll go and use the app different. Like, they'll do things that subvert what they asked for, right? They have like odd behaviors through the app. And that also applies to testing, where we think, like, are we even testing the app the way people use the app? Or are we just testing it from a very kind of calculated, cold functional? We could all have our own JS framework. That sounds like a bit like a nightmare, to be honest. My first job was like all JS frameworks, and it's like I got so sick of being like, well, we're switching from Backbone to Ember, and now we're switching from this to React. It's like, can we pick one? Please just stick with it. Now we're doing model view controller with Blazor pages. We're sorry. No, well, we're Razor pages, and now we're going to Blazor pages. It's like, oh gosh, and those aren't technically JS frameworks, right? But they're frameworks for UIs. Anyway, devolving.
Most teams make the mistake of focusing much too hard on testing the specific detail of their implementation.
I agree. Yeah, specifying how instead of what. Yeah, I agree. Like, you want to get away from the how, you want to specify the what. What is like and again, you don't, well, I guess it's saying, like, yes, we need BDD, but it's sort of, I guess the principles from BDD, sort of like the principles from Agile, right, are useful, but you don't have to be legalistic about it. Like, pick and choose the things that you like about it. Like, there's a lot of, I like acceptance testing. I like the idea you get away from those implementation details. You don't have these brittle, documented, written tests. Instead, these tests are really focused on the outcome and often don't change that much. But the guts underneath your tests, unfortunately, have to change. I think, again, what rubs me wrong always is that people will advertise BDD like code, and there's all these, like, paid tools that just pop up out of nowhere around it. It's kind of like, yeah, you don't have to write any code. And now with AI, it's like we'll even have the AI write them, and it just feels like it's all sort of just like a smokescreen. And I've never seen them scale. I've never seen them work. And then you stop paying them money. It's like, guess what? You don't own anything. You don't own anything. Like, or you want to change, like you're doing one of those like UI based GUI testing tools where you just like pick keywords and maybe fill in the gaps, which again, those are just functions with arguments. That's all they are. There's just keywords instead of a function call with arguments. This doesn't do, because little secret, I used to work for a company that made one of these tools, and the customer would be like, well, we need a keyword that does this. So they had to wait for us to basically build out new keywords and deploy it to the app. So we had to go and write the keyword to their specification, write all the guts in the code to actually go in with Selenium WebDriver and do the things in their app, and it was like, I was thinking, what a terrible thing when you don't have any power or control over those keywords and what they do. You have to wait. If the keyword breaks because the app breaks, like if those things, as they diverge, your keyword, the guts of your keyword, the implementation details, and then your app itself, they diverge. Now you will have to wait for us to fix that keyword to go into the guts of the code, your implementation of Selenium WebDriver or whatever, and fix it. You don't have any power over it. And then if you stop paying us, I don't think you have access to any of it, right? Like, and us as in the company, it was a subcontract. So if you know my LinkedIn, you won't be able to find out who it was. So yeah, you won't be able to find it.
And not enough on validating that the software achieves the desired outcomes. This results in tests that are too tightly coupled to the implementations.
You're just saying this.
Code and tests that are difficult, if not impossible, to change.
Yes.
I think that people make this mistake for two reasons. First, that programming is quite a lot of fun and our primary focus as we learn to be programmers. So writing code is naturally at the forefront of our minds when we're presented with a problem that we might be asked to solve with software. We jump too soon to solution thinking.
Yes.
Don't spend enough time thinking about the problem.
Yes, thank you, Dave. Thank you. Yes, I've been in meetings where this happens. It's like we're already picking the solution when we're just like grooming the story out, right? Like you've got story grooming, and we're already talking about what libraries to use, and we've lost the plot of what problem we're trying to solve for the user base, right? For the people that actually use the system. We're so lost, and it's because we're nerds, right? Like we get excited, and I think that's why product people hopefully can rein us back in. Like, hey, this is the problem we're solving. Because then for your tester's like, well, what problem are we solving? Because I want to make sure I can actually verify this. Just solve it with an AI integration. Oh gosh, the nightmare world, the nightmare world. Everything. Were you here when I was searching for an image? I think you were, of the Primeagen. Or no, I was searching for like JSON pipes, and there was all these AI images. I was like, everything is AI slop now. As much as I think AI is a really useful tool, it's also just it's like degrading. It's the excuse my French, it's the shitification of the internet, because now too models are being trained on data generated by models. Like, how are we going to sift? It's really going to be about good data. Google has gone down the drain. Yes. Like search, the fact that they just can't, they're almost going to, this is what's sad. They're going to need generative AI, kind of like an oppositional network, where they're going to have to filter. There needs to be an option to say, I don't want AI. And I think there may be in Google search. I don't want AI generated images. They're not going to filter. They will just feed the beast. I mean, I would think eventually if enough people are ticked off about the fact that because here's the thing too, like if I wanted an AI image of like pipes, I can run Stable Diffusion myself. I've run it on this machine. Like, there's so many cheap or free tools to generate images. Like if I want an image of pipes, I'm going to Google because I want an image of real pipes or animated pipes or pixel art pipes or something, right? Like I want something from reality in general. I don't want something generated. I'm going to Google because I want something wasn't generated, flat out. If I want something generated, I can run Stable Diffusion. I can go to one of the sites which are usually running Stable Diffusion. I mean, side topic, if you want to generate images, don't pay anyone. Like, get a decent graphics card for what you'd pay probably for a year of service from one of these platforms. Go get a decent graphics card. You can buy it off the secondary market, because if you're just put it in your machine, if you don't have a graphics card already, run Stable Diffusion locally. There's tons of Git repos that make it super easy to run it. It usually runs in Python v environment. Generate images, have fun, dork around with the tools, figure it out, because it's a scam. It's like a scam that you can run Stable Diffusion for free yourself with very few resources now, and then you'd go and pay someone. In 2 years, Google will give you a tick box for $5 a month to get real images. That is a dystopian as well, Onion, but maybe not unlikely. Though Google likes to give you things for free so that they can they can use your data. So it makes me think like it'll be free at first, and then it'll be like, well, to filter images, you need to be part of Google Plus or Google Gold or Google Advance. They're gonna think of something. They're gonna give it to you for free, and then they're gonna close off the hose there and say, okay, now if you want this, it's gonna cost you.
This is really quite natural, but also quite profoundly wrong. We aren't going to do a good job of solving a problem if we don't understand what the problem is. Which leads us to the second difficulty. Understanding the problem is usually more difficult than writing the code to solve it.
Yes,
at least once you've got past the coding beginner stage. Let me pause there and thank our sponsors. We're extremely fortunate to be sponsored by Equal Experts, Transfic, and Tuple. Transfic is a financial technology company applying advanced continuous delivery techniques to deliver low latency trade routing services to some of the biggest financial institutions in the world. All of our sponsors offer products and services that are extremely well aligned with the topics that we discuss on this channel every week. So if you're looking for excellence in continuous delivery and software engineering in general, then click on their links in the description below and do check them out. Our real job in software is not about writing code, but rather about solving problems for people using software. And then organizing our understanding of the problem is a vital and difficult, in fact, it is the most difficult part of software development.
It's like becoming the world's best painter and then never painting anything that people like. I think this is like an epidemic problem with software development, where it's all about like the tools and the it's all about like the tools and approaches and print. Like we get bogged down in the tech and we forget, like, well, what problems does this tech solve? Like, what are we actually solving? Are we solving a problem? You have to ask yourself that. Am I doing this because it's cool? Which is fine. It's fine to do that. But the reason you get paid is not because something is cool. You get paid because you're solving a problem or offering some sort of service. And not to bring a meme into it, but you are offering shareholder value of some kind, right? Maximize shareholder value. In all honesty, you have to, when it comes to the end of the day, you get to play with your, that's what this stream is for me. These streams are for me to tinker around with stuff that probably doesn't bring tons of value. It could, but me experimenting with it is my opportunity to say, okay, this may have no value for my day job, so I'm going to tinker with it on the side. It's my side chick, right? It's my side chick. My day job, I want to be careful because I want to make sure those things I'm bringing solve a problem. I'm not just doing it because it's cool, right? Or it's the latest thing. Who was it? There was somebody. Gosh, I think I was doing a screening, and this guy was brilliant, so far ahead of me in like everything. And one thing that blew my mind is the whole interview was about Cypress, right? We're talking about it, and he's pretty happy with my Cypress knowledge. I used Cypress for a long time, and I'm fairly knowledgeable about it. But he, I was basically talking as if like, well, Selenium WebDriver, who would ever use that? And his bread and butter really was still a Selenium WebDriver framework that just keeps working and works really well for a wealth of clients. And he's like, why would I change it? It works for them. It works for them, and it completely fulfills the need. They're happy. It's scalable and it's well designed. Why, and he uses Playwright and Cypress for other things. But for these mainline clients and his bread and butter, even though he was doing a Cypress interview for me, right? And he's a Cypress expert as well. He's like, yeah, but I still, it's this idea again. It solves the problem. Why? I think so many times and I put myself in that box. We're so ready to jump. We completely forget about solving the problem, and we get bogged down in like, what's the coolest, latest tool implementation? If this isn't working out, I'm just going to jump to the next tool. There's no patience about it. There's no like, yes, we're going to iterate, but I don't even think we're really iterating. We're just like, this doesn't do what I want because I'm not going to take the time to learn how it works. It just doesn't seem to do it for me. And then you go to the next thing, and you're taking your bad preconceived notions with you to each like implementation, and things don't actually change. You keep falling in the same pitfalls because your way of thinking has not changed. Just you've got the new interface for your bad design patterns, right? Like, I think this happens so many times. We don't stop and think like, what am I solving a problem right now? Kind of slowing down a little bit. Like, one of my best agile development mentors said, you want to go slow so that you can go fast. Take your time designing and building your race car so you can get on the track and drive as fast as you want. And that's very hard to do in a fast-paced development environment, right? But you should take some time to like slow down, think about risks, think about the problems on the racetrack. Have a well-designed. I know people's like, we're going to build the plane in flight. It's like, no, you don't understand. Hey, but you also don't want to get bogged down in analysis paralysis, right? Like, find balance there.
Sure, there can be interestingly tricky parts to solving a problem, and finding a neat solution is obviously an important part of what we do.
Yeah.
But we don't get to do that without that deep understanding of the problem itself.
Design
the kind of
twice,
deep
code
understanding
once.
that allows us to find elegantly simple solutions that we can take real pride in when we find them. Part of the problem here is that the solution to every problem seems simple if you only have a simplistic view of the problem. I can write a basic implementation of Twitter in a day or two if I'm naive enough to only think in terms of the basics of reading about topics that I'm interested in and subscribing to those things. It's only once we start thinking of doing this at global scale and the data volumes and the range of topics that are likely to be involved that the whole stack of world-class complicated problems become more obvious to us. We'll never foresee some of these problems. We'll only discover them once people start using our software for real. So this problem of understanding the problem is very far indeed from being simple.
Yes.
And it's at the very core of successful software development.
Yes.
And at the core of successful software businesses too. So to do a great job of software development, we need to be good, organized and disciplined in how we approach the understanding of the problems that we work on.
Yes, I agree. Onion says, I've come to process my own projects, come to a process on my own projects to do a dirty minimum viable product, then go back to see why my dirty solution could be dumb. That's not a bad approach. And that's the other problem too, is when you get bogged down in like dorking with tools. I gotta think of a better word of dorking because it could be some people, but tinkering. Like you get to tinkering with things and there's no like end in sight. So I think that's a solid process. Get something real. I think that's what Leviosa, what's his name, Peter Levels does. He just gets something in front of people and puts a paywall, or he just gets stuff out to people, and you'll find out really fast whether it's working, right? Like if people don't start using it, you have to think and say, well, why? What's keeping them from using it, or why aren't they using it? And granted, he has also a lot of like social capital in the sense that he's built things before. So when he builds something new and he builds it publicly, people are interested in it, right? But I think that's a great process. Get something out. And I'm the most guilty of this. I get into this thing where like it has to be perfect. And I actually did this in school. I was terrible about it. I would rather get an F on a project and throw away a paper if the paper wasn't perfect. It's like I got bogged down. It's like just turn something in. Just turn something in. Don't try to make it a certain way. Just turn it in.
So that then we're in the best possible position to come up with those good solution ideas that we're looking for. If we focus only on solutions or focus on solutions too soon, then we're often likely to pick the first overly naive solutions that occur to us. And these first ideas are almost certainly wrong.
Which is okay.
So we'll probably miss the good solutions that will save us time and money and make our software an easier place to work, and so make us more efficient in making changes in future.
That's fair.
And instead, we'll end up with naive and hard to live with systems that
Ouch.
result in us closing doors to doing a better job in the future, and so make it harder to adopt better solutions even when we do recognize the need for them. Let's be absolutely.
I think your approach on you is still fine. I think it's okay to have something. That's like you experimenting with a solution, and I think that's okay. I think it comes down to how far down the rabbit hole has someone gone. If you really it's really hard to change what you've done, or you have to scrap it, and like who's invested, if it was your own time, it's really hard to say. I still think it's fine. I would maybe slightly disagree. It's good to have to experiment too a little bit to try to get at the solution. Like, oh, this didn't work. As long as you admit, like, these are the reasons this thing didn't work. Like, find what you can learn and iterate. Iteration should be about learning something from each iteration. If each iteration is the same, then it's insanity, right? Like, you're never learning. You're just doing the same thing. It's not really an iteration then.
Absolutely clear about this, though. None of this means that we should spend weeks or months agonizing over the requirements before we start writing code.
Get something out.
Because that doesn't work either. The way that we learn to better understand the problem that we're working on is by working on it, trying stuff out, finding what works, and correcting what doesn't.
Like Dave's reading our minds.
Incrementalism, organizing our work so that we can grow our understanding and our solution small step by small step is fundamental to great software development.
Yes.
And once again, BDD is an enabling approach to adopting that more incremental, requirements, problem-focused approach. Think about that for a moment. Let's imagine that we're presented with a problem of some kind that needs a software solution. What's likely to work best? Thinking hard and picking a solution and then developing it to completion, or trying something, seeing if it works, correcting the things that don't work and improving the things that do. Reevaluating whether our understanding is still correct and then trying something else.
That's basically what you said, right? Onion, like, Dave is a genius and so are we by proxy. What's up, Frightful? Sports? EA Sports. It's in the game. Dave is a genius and so are we by proxy. Dave is definitely a genius. You might be a genius. I don't feel like a genius. I feel like I'm I'm like a weaponized autist in the sense that I have gotten much farther than maybe my intelligence, just pure intelligence, would have brought me, because I can obsess about things and I take really good notes, and pattern recognition. That's basically weaponized autism. Deltarune, Undertale. You've been enjoying Deltarune, Frightful? I hope. Deltarune, it's in the game. No, I hope you've been enjoying Deltarune. I've been hearing good things about it. You haven't been? Oh, you beat Deltarune. Nice. In 2 days? Is that... I'm guessing it's a game that's designed to be played more than once. Just like Undertale. Like, you can't just play Undertale one time. You kind of have to play Undertale more than once. It's like you learn, like, oh, I should have done these things. But yeah, I've only been hearing good stuff about it. So and I'm losing my voice and running out of time in this 17-minute video. Yeah, but Deltarune only has one weird route in chapter 2. Okay. Yeah, because that's the thing. That's the thing about those, about like Deltarune, or well, about Undertale. It's like there's a, you've got the alternate ways to play, and I love those kind of games where I get more value playing it again. Kind of like a good movie you watch, like what is it? It's a Christopher Nolan movie, The Prestige. Like, watch The Prestige once, and then watch The Prestige again. It's like a different movie. So Undertale is about, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was thinking Deltarune was. Undertale is about letting you choose. Great. So it's the opposite. It's like your choice. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do. Everything's inevitable. So it's like fatalist.
In the first case, we have one idea and then we try to implement it. So we have essentially one shot at success.
Okay, so waterfall.
Miss, the project's a disaster. But we don't find that out until the project's finished. In the second, we have as many attempts at success as we want.
Yeah, as you iterate.
We can check to see if our route towards success still looks viable after every small change that we make. This is, at its roots, how science and engineering work. Clearly, this second approach is more likely to result in success.
Yes.
If only because we have more chances to spot any mistakes.
Yeah, again, back to Onion's thing. It's like an iterative process. Let's see. Deltarune Chapter 1 came out Halloween 2018. I do remember that. I didn't play it. Some original scripts came out in 2011. It still feels weird that Deltarune Chapter 2 is older than Elden Ring. Yeah.
But for this to work, what we really need is a well-defined, ideally easy to create and easy to live with definition of what success means.
Yeah.
And this is the real intent of behavior-driven development. Let's ignore for a moment the illusion of any perfect specification, because however diligent we are, we're never going to find that.
Wait,
the best that we can ever do is to...
Did they spell perfect wrong? Wait a second. I'm so distracted. I agree with the statement, but is this like a UK thing? Hold on. This is okay, sidetrack. The word perfect, because to me, perfect is that. Okay? But what is this word? Hold on. Is this no, for real? Hold on. I wonder if that was like a failed autocorrect. Because when I do proper YouTube videos, I go and autocorrect the script too. Yep, weaponized autism backfired. Hold on. Is it? No, seriously. Is it like a UK? Is it just? I think it's a misspelling. Yeah, because there's a product called Perfect. Okay. I agree with the statement. I'm so distracted by what I'm thinking is a misspelling. I'm going to screenshot this. I'm going to send this to Dave, mostly just to tease him. Okay, there. I'm going to grab this. I think I'm going to put like ears on him and whiskers. All right, sorry. Really distracted. I agree. So you have to accept the fact you're not going to have perfect specifications. Meow. Yeah, distracting, sorry.
We're never going to find that. So the best that we can ever do is to try to achieve the best specification that we can for our system as we understand it at this moment.
Right.
What BDD does is allow us to make our best guess so far of what our system should do and turn this into a concrete, self-validating thing. This is a much more powerful idea than thinking hard and getting everything right from the start.
Because you won't get everything right from the start. And you have to accept that and accept that iterating is part of the process. Otherwise, you will force implementations and design approaches that won't work because you don't want to go back and iterate. I just saw a video where someone was playing Minecraft and then a creeper made them fall into a cave, and then the Undertale intro played and Undertale started playing. Is that going to become, or is that like some form of the Skyrim you'll awake now, where people use that where, you know, you think you're watching one thing, it's like, good, you'll awake now. So many times I built a little data pipeline and only afterwards I get to look at it as a whole. Then I have to full picture. I can just, when I have the full picture, I can just pull out the useless bits and streamline. Right. That's the iterative process, you know. Now I want to know something that's like the Skyrim intro. What? We're so digressing. But right, I mean, it's like you have to be. I had another really good mentor. He taught me to never fall in love with any code that I wrote, as in felt like it was untouchable. He's like, never treat code like it can't be redesigned or improved upon. Don't assume like you've arrived. Be okay, and TDD helps you do that. Like, I'm a huge proponent of TDD. Like, your code should become very disposable. You can't get worried. Like, what if I can't figure out how it worked again? If you, I mean, that's a real fear, and it's not bad to keep snippets and things, but you have to let your code be disposable so that you can iterate. Frightful, if anything has the words big and shot in it, for example, my friend sent me a picture of a shop called Big Shop. People will put a picture of spammed in there or make it to do this because, you know, sketch of how now is your chance to be a big shot. Right. I'm still a fan because my wife and I played so much Skyrim. Like, it's embarrassing. I own Skyrim. I've repurchased Skyrim like 4 times. I'm really embarrassed to say that. PlayStation 3, Switch, PlayStation 4, PC. Then I bought a copy for my wife on the PC so that we both have a copy on her Steam account. So it's like I've purchased Skyrim 5 times. I think, am I missing any? No, yeah, I've purchased Skyrim 5 times. I've only got Skyrim once, and it's the PS4 version, VR version that I got for free because of PS VR. Oh, nice. Well, I was there at the beginning. PlayStation 3. When your save files would constantly grow to the point where, what was that, Fallout 3? I don't remember which one it was. One of those, I think it was Fallout 3. Your save file would grow to the point where it would just crash the PlayStation.
Because now we have a clear specification of what we want our system to do. We're not going to forget any corner cases or anything because we've either encoded them as specifications or we didn't build them, which is a much more powerful thing than only attesting our implementation does what we thought it should do. This same specification, because we've created it as an executable specification, will now also notify us when our system stops doing the things that it's supposed to do, notifying us of our mistakes quickly and allowing us to fill in any gaps or correct any mistakes that we make along the way. Now our lives are easier because now our system's easier to change and easier to grow. This is exactly what behavior-driven development does. We begin by defining the behavior that we think is important. We don't have to get this perfectly right first time.
Right.
Because we can easily correct it later.
Hold on. Let's go back to that. I know we may not finish this video before I have to jump to a work meeting. Darn work. If only I could be a full-time streamer. I could sit all day and talk about this. It still feels weird that the people who made survival type games like Fallout and Skyrim made Doom. Well, originally Doom was from id, and that was Gygax and oh gosh, I'm thinking of D&D. But that was the original Doom though. But you're probably thinking of new Doom. Well, they didn't make Doom; they own it. Yeah. Because the original creators of Doom, that's my brain. I have streamer brain where I can't remember basic knowledge that's in my normal brain. But I want to look at these specifications really quick too. These leave out. You may look at this and think, well, what was the difference between the other tests we look at? Right. Player starts a single player game. As a player, I want to play a single player game so that I can play alone. Scenario, play as a single player. Given I start a new game. So how? We don't know how, but we know what. We don't know how you start a new game. When I select player 1, again, we don't know how, we know what. Then the game should respond with welcome player one. Is it going to be a pop-up? Is it going to be a message on the the display? We don't know exactly how they're welcomed. It could be, it responds. It could be talking to you, and the game should offer the option to start the game. So this does not tell us how to do this, how it's going to look necessarily, but it tells you what the user or the persona is trying to accomplish. It's weird how the game works on GBA, considering it's a 32-bit game on a 16-bit console. Well, I think the first time I played Doom it was on PC, and then I played it again, I think on the Sega Genesis 32X. So I played it on a 32-bit console. I heard the SNES version's pretty booty cheeks.
Important. We don't have to get this perfectly right first time, because we can easily correct it later. We then use this definition to organize how we work, both in terms of how we decide and specify that behavior, but also because we worked to more clearly separate specification from implementation, we gain the freedom to decide how we want to implement that behavior, and then the freedom to change our minds once we have a better idea. Because now, whatever our implementation is, its specification doesn't change.
Right.
The trick here is to write tests that allow us this freedom to change the implementation while keeping the specification unchanged.
Yes.
We only need to change specifications when our understanding of the problem changes.
I talked about that at the beginning. Your keywords or your specifications or your specs, your spec file does not change. That is the behavior. It is the what. The how, the guts underneath will change. The system will change. But ideally, our specifications don't change. So your keyword and your spec files stay the same. They get added to. And then as the implementation details change, your guts have to change. My problem then with BDD is it is advertised when it comes to testing and tools as if it just magically keeps working. Someone has to go change the how. They have to go into they have to go deeper than the specification to the code that runs the spec file and the keywords and update them. And that's where it's not magic. Doom and Doom 2 originally weren't in widescreen, so they had to make new versions for widescreens, and then Half-Life just straight up got updates for that instead. Oh man, Half-Life. I feel like I've missed the boat on Half-Life. It's like I'm not a real gamer because I haven't played it all the way through. And I've watched people finish the game, and I know it's good. It's just or the games, sorry. It's just one of those things like it's so ubiquitous in gaming culture that I don't know. It's like, do I have the time for this now? Isn't it crazy how the original Xbox version of Half-Life 2 is in widescreen? I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on how they develop the game, right? Like the idea that sort of like if you shoot a film, if they shot a film in wide and then they shot a film in like widescreen and then they had to change the format for you to watch it on TV. They have the wide in the source, so it depends on how they developed it. They may have developed it with more, they could render more real estate and more assets, especially 3D games. It's the idea you're just widening the view, the viewport changes. The content was always there, so especially like think of a 3D game. The content was always there, we just didn't render all of it. Yeah, okay, good. Half-Life 2, I'm correct, was originally in 4.3. Right, and I think with 3D games, that's less of a big deal. Because again, I may be oversimplifying it. It's just this idea that your viewport is going to change of all the 3D rendered content. So now if you have more power to be able to render more assets, it's kind of like Field of Depth, I think, where, you know, you'll play Minecraft or 7 Days to Die or whatever, and you can increase or decrease the field of depth or arc. Before I had a decent graphics card, I used to have a really low field of depth for arc. So as you're walking, there's like this fog of war. It's like, oh, there's stuff here. Where instead of like, oh, there's a Brontosaurus in the distance. Here's like, there's nothing. Oh, there's a Brontosaurus in front of me. Like, again, it's processing power. Can we render the wider the width to render more content, and then depth of like the depth of rendering. How deeply can we render? Can we render polygons and objects within the viewport of the user? So I don't know if it's with 3D games, because original Doom and Doom 2, it wasn't necessarily, it was different. I don't think the way they did Doom is a little different than, say, like Half-Life, where there's more traditional polygon development, right? Doom uses some magic and trickery. That's more impressive. Like, making Doom widescreen is more impressive than making Half-Life widescreen, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. That's where it gets harder. I think rendering widescreen with 2D sprites, you probably have to redesign like the sprite rendering engine, where with Half-Life, you're probably just redesigning like the viewport of, you don't have to probably rebuild the way assets are rendered. You're rebuilding how the depth of like the viewport for all the rendered objects is my guess. Yeah, it's the map that's 3D. Right. Yeah, it's Doom is like legitimately, if you go back, you can listen to there's a Lex Fridman podcast where he talks to one of the developers of Doom, and it's really impressive to like learn like how they figured out how to make Doom. It's super, it just blows my mind that they figured it out. It was lots of hacking and bootstrapping, you know. Yeah, I mean, the idea that the original Xbox is impressive. There's games on the original Xbox that look better than some of the what was that? Was it the 360 was the next one? There's games on the original Xbox that look better than stuff that was on the next Xbox. Like some of the Halos, like Halo 2, Phantom Dust. The fact that Phantom Dust is like a launch Xbox, original Xbox, but looks like the next generation is crazy to me. That game blew my mind. But we're digressing.
Not when our understanding of what our solution should be changes. If you'd like to learn more about the detail of how to do all of this, do check out my highly acclaimed training course, Acceptance Testing, BDD from Stories to Executable Specifications. Our customers for this course tell us that it's a game changer. The scenarios that we define in BDD are genuine executable specifications for our system. They accurately describe what the system should do under a controlled set of circumstances in a way that allows us to use them to verify.
See how he's naming his test methods? Because it doesn't look like he's using a like Gherkin or anything. But you can see here, should acknowledge invoice submission. So it's this idea we're more worried here about the behavior and less worried about the implementation details, right? Test search for available flights on preferred date. Test provide alternate flights if none found on preferred date. That's I'm not a super big fan of those, but he's defining something there. Should add book to shopping basket. Should buy book with credit card. Yeah, those are good tests, good test names that focus more on the outcome.
That they are actually fulfilled by the system. How to achieve this in terms of tools is kind of irrelevant compared to organizing our work in this way.
True.
In fact, my own preference uses very few third-party tools. I tend to build a domain-specific language with no additional tools at all, other than my programming language and occasionally a unit test framework. The aim of the DSL is to make it quick and easy to write these specifications, which leads me to the next big stumbling block that is common to teams misusing BDD.
Ooh boy. Frightful says Xbox 360 releasing 20 years ago feels weird. You tell me, because I know I'm almost most definitely older than you. I'm pretty certain it feels like only 10 years ago. I have kids, and like things happened during that time where I could definitely believe it was 20 years ago, because I would have been in my 20s, and to me, like, I can believe it. The 360 came out 20 years ago. I can remember what I was doing in my 20s and seeing the 360, because I didn't own a 360. I owned an original Xbox. Then I would have had a PS2. And I didn't get I got a PS3 late. Well, the Wii, yeah. Thing is too, I have really strong like core memories of some of these. So I think with me, I can feel how long ago because it's like anything pre-children. I can like feel it. It makes sense to me how long ago it was. What doesn't make sense to me is like how long ago, like the NES or the SNES or like the Sega Genesis or even like the original PlayStation. That's like I try to reconcile that in my mind because that was my childhood. Where a lot of these consoles are my adult years and I have better perspective of time, and then it's pre-children too before we had kids. And so it's very like the Wii was a really super magical experience for me. Because I was married and I remember getting it and staying up all night. I think my mom and my wife pitched in together. I think my mother got it for my wife and I stayed up all night setting it up, and it was just super magical. Like it's really hard to think that ever can be recaptured. There was something super magical about getting the original the Wii. The PS2 came out in the 90s. Learned it came out 3 years before I was born and not 10 years. But see, yeah, that's what I mean. I think your perception of that is probably gonna be different than mine because it was my adulthood. Like the PS2, I think when the PS2 would have come out, where would I have been? Was I in college? I think I was. I think I was in college. So to me, it's very more. I have a better time scale for it. Yeah, and PS1 that came out when I was in grade school, or the original PlayStation.
That next mistake is to assume that the creation and use of these scenarios is a lot of extra work outside the process of software development, really. Often this takes the form of trying to separate this work and delegate it to a separate group of people, maybe a QA team or something like that.
What?
And then them being made responsible for the creation and maintenance of
What?
all of these specifications. This is a big mistake for a wide variety of reasons.
I agree.
But most importantly, because BDD is about two big things: driving the development process from these specifications and establishing more effective, efficient communications between all of the people involved. One of the huge wins for teams that do BDD-style acceptance testing effectively is that they achieve a much better understanding of the problem that they're meant to be solving. They better understand what the software is meant to do. That's because this understanding is made evident from the beginning and then grown incrementally, feature by feature.
Yes, I agree, but I don't want to agree myself out of a job. I think there's still a role. Please, there's still a role for QA and testing. Onion says, my brain doesn't have a time column. You can't expect me to be responsible for my work. How dare you expect me to test my own things? And this is where Dave's going to get into like the TDD talk, obviously, which I'm going to have almost no disagreements with him.
By driving the development process this way, you're pretty much forced to collaborate more effectively.
Yeah.
Developers work closely with domain experts from the business. Testers work more closely with developers.
Okay, so there's still a job for us.
And they all work together.
Yeah.
They all discuss what the software is meant to achieve. These discussions are detailed and specific, defining a set of starting conditions. And given that set of starting conditions, what should then happen when some event occurs? This isn't vague or abstract. It's a specific example of how the software should behave under certain patterns of use, certain well-defined patterns of use. If we delegate this work to a separate team, there's now a temptation for things to happen in the wrong order. The tests will maybe be written after the code and so on, and for the wrong people to be working on those things. We want the people solving the problem, the developers, to have the best possible understanding of the problem that they're working on, that we can achieve. We want these specifications, our requirements, to be clear, accurate, and precise. They're clear because they're written as behavioral specifications, clearly expressed descriptions of exactly what should happen under a controlled specific set of circumstances. They're accurate because the specifications describe real uses of the system from the perspective of real users of the system. They're precise because we control the variables in our evaluations of the specifications with a variety of techniques like test isolation, and by being very specific about the inputs to the scenario and the predicted results. There's a lot to get right here. This is a big change to the way that many teams approach development and
Yeah, I agree.
automated testing. But when you do get these things right, the rewards are very significant indeed. This technique can dramatically increase the speed and quality of your software development and strongly promotes lots of other good behaviors, like encouraging you to adopt a more incremental approach to design and development, while also promoting more determinism in those designs so that you can better control the variables and so better depend on the results that you get from your executable specifications.
Oh gosh, sorry.
This approach is so effective that I think it may even represent the future of programming with artificial intelligence, allowing us to more effectively harness and direct AI coding assistants to produce the results that we really need. I talked about this in more detail in this episode.
Oh,
you can learn more about all of these topics and a lot more from our training course. So do check that out. It's in the link below. Thank you very much for watching. And thanks especially to our patron.
All right. Yeah, I think Dave's starting to win me over slowly. I do have to go, unfortunately. I'd love to continue the conversation about game consoles, Frightful, but unfortunately I got to go. But I appreciate you guys. One thing that's not missed, but the next step then is this idea in BDD where a lot of the specification testing is done at that layer with dev. More regression and further exploration can be done at the top layer with testers. I'm gonna go back to doing nothing and pretending I'm busy. That's like my life now. I'm just kidding. But no, I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll be back on Friday at the usual time. I'm questioning this time slot. I don't know. It's just really hard because it yo, Philo, no. That is a sick Super Metroid emoji. How do you, that's on Kick? That is so cool. Did you notice I made you an admin? you're a mod on Kick. I'll make you a mod on YouTube too. I expect you to I mean, I don't, but dude, oh my gosh. That is amazing. Hold on. I'm so distracted. I gotta get to a work meeting, but that is so sick. Chip and Dale, Pinky and the Brain. Oh my gosh. I see Knuckles, Scrooge McDuck, Yoshi, Batman, The Spot. The one between Pinky and the Brain and is that Chip or Dale? I don't recognize that one. I feel like I should. And then the other one's the dude from Toe Jam and Earl. I don't know the difference. It's like Bill and Ted. Like, which one's which? Those are amazing. Are those like default? Oh, Lost Vikings. Okay. Is that like just a default thing on Kick? That's so sick. I'm so distracted now. I have like 3 minutes to get to a work meeting. Oh, you made them. Can you just... Oh, I need to understand how Kick works. I feel like I'm such a dummy. No, I appreciate all of you. And finally, I want to catch a stream. I was so mad the other day. I was like, I think it was just ending. I was like, no, I want to be on a stream. I hate my life. But no, I think I'm starting to, man, I'm being influenced. I'm starting to believe in BDD. This creeps me out. But check out Dave's videos, modern software engineering. Go subscribe. Be open-minded. This would be my suggestion. This is the learning from this. Be open-minded. Give ideas that contradict Undertale. EA Sports. And my children are starting to come in. So, appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Bye.